Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And
Yeah, we just as soon as we saw we lost you, we just stopped, tried to get your attention, see if it came back, and then see if we could do anything on our end.
We're good to go.
Appreciate you coming back.
We're good to go. And what was your question, Tom? Did we leave off?
Oh,
Sixth grade on playing basketball.
Oh, I mean,
I think we finished up.
so I wanted to get a little bit into your collegiate career, right? So you're coming out of high school, you're coming to Chapel Hill, and what was it like playing in the ACC in the early '80s? Because I mean, your team was loaded.
Yeah.
Right. So what was competition like at that time?
Well, it was great, Dom. You talk about the ACC. To me, was and still is the best basketball conference ever.
Great.
No doubt.
Like now, the Big Ten has a good year,
Yep.
but year in, year out, the ACC is the best in my opinion. And so just think back in the 80s, we had in that league, when I started in 1980, we had Albert King and Buck Williams at Maryland. Okay. Then they had Lenny Bias and Adrian Branch. Okay. Wake Forest had Danny Young, who played in the NBA, and they had Delaney Rudd, played in the NBA. They had Frank Johnson, who played in the NBA for a long time. Frank was a hell of a player. And then I'm just going through the league.
Ralph Sampson.
Ralph Sampson was maybe the most talented college player of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, even as talented or maybe more gifted, skilled than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Man.
Oh, wow.
I'm not saying better player, but I'm saying as talented or more talented.
Sure.
And then you had Jeff Lamp, who played. You had Rick Carlisle, who played in the NBA, who's now coaching for the Celtics.
Forgot about Rick Carlisle.
The Dallas Mavericks. NC State. They had when I started. I'm trying to think of who their best player was when I got there. But then they had Sidney Lowe. They won the national championship in '83. And then you had Duke. Duke was going through a transition. Ironically, Duke wasn't very good.
Yeah.
My first year, I played against Gene Banks. He was a senior. And they were okay. They weren't great. But he was obviously a great player.
Yeah, he was.
And then we played, who else? Georgia Tech was just getting in the league. Clemson had Larry Nance, who was a great pro.
That guy could ball.
Yeah. And so I think I covered. I might have missed a team, but I think that kind of covered it.
Yeah.
Well,
and then you had everybody you played with. I mean, you played with 2 first ballot Hall of Famers.
Yeah, Michael Jordan, James Worthy, Sam Perkins, who I don't know how Sam gets lost in some of these conversations.
Yeah,
I don't either, man. Big Smooth, I have no idea.
I don't either.
I'm with you.
He was a 3-time All-American.
Yes, he was.
He's the all-time, I think, second all-time leading rebounder and second in points when he graduated.
Behind Phil Ford.
Our team won more games in, I think, the history, either of the ACC or North Carolina history in 4-year period. And he played the NBA like 17 years. So, yeah, the ACC was so good back then, and every place was so tough to win.
It seems like talent.
Mark Price at Georgia Tech.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's right. It seems like talent was more concentrated at that time, because now you've got all these mid-major conferences that are getting talented players, and maybe it's just my perception because the game has grown, but it seemed like the rosters back then were loaded top to bottom with just I mean, they were stacked versus. It seems like rosters now. There's
Well, I
they're
think
they're
back
they're
then,
a little
I don't-
thin at the end.
Couple things. One, I don't recall a scholarship limit back then. I'm sure there was, but I think it might have been 15.
Ooh.
Okay.
So you could accumulate talent,
Sure.
and with TV being limited, there wasn't a lot of schools on TV. So, now with ESPN covering all the games, everyone could say you're on TV. And then they expanded the NCAA tournament, so more teams made the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you have the one and dones. So
Right, because
these mid-major programs that could grow and beat top 5 schools, top 5 leagues.
right because back then people would stay at least until their junior year, if not all 4 years. So now you're getting 4 years worth of talent instead of 1 and 2 years worth of talent. That makes a lot of sense.
Who was your toughest guard during your college days?
Yeah.
Who was the toughest one to guard, not excluding, of course, your teammates?
I would say personally, like for my position, it was probably Albert King as a freshman, and I didn't guard him a lot, thank God. And Lenny Bias.
Oh yeah, well, I guess that goes without
Lenny
saying.
Bias
Huh?
and Adrian Brandt.
Adrian Brandt was a heck of a player, man.
Yeah, Lenny Bias. Yeah.
So going through the national championship year, Coach, what was it like? Because I know Mike, Mr. Michael Jordan wrote the foreword for Rebound, your book, your new book. What was it like playing with MJ?
It was easy. It was easy. You had the best player on your team. I had the best players on my team.
Yeah,
Sure.
My senior year, we had a starting 5 of Kenny Smith, Michael Jordan, myself, Sam Perkins, and Brad Doherty.
Man, oh man, oh man.
That's not fair.
That's really not fair.
That's ridiculous, bro. This is so ridiculous.
They were not only great players, but great guys. And so we were very unselfish. We just cared about winning. We listened to what Coach Smith and the assistants were telling us. Our assistants included Bill Guthridge, Eddie Fogler, and Roy Williams.
Boy, oh boy.
Talk about great coaches.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was easy playing with Michael, because he played the right way. He played defense. He passed the ball. He played hard. He competed. He just wanted to win. And so when we had a lot of times games might have been close at half, and we knew we were going to take care of business in the second half. And that was a really confident feeling that we would have in the locker room at halftime.
I bet. I can't even imagine that.
I think as fans, we used to have that exact same feeling because growing up, watching you guys, you guys could be down by 10, 15 points, but you still had that feeling that, okay, we got them right where we want them. 15 points is nothing for us.
It was that whole second half thing.
I keep saying us like I played. You know what I'm saying? But I'm a Tar Heel fan, so I feel like us.
Trey.
You know what I mean?
It's okay. I appreciate that. But no, that's how we felt. And that's a couple things. One, that's the history that Coach Smith had in comeback wins. We knew that. We believed in that. We practiced it. And we knew that we could do it.
Yeah.
And teams started to crack, and all of a sudden we feel, and then the momentum would change. And Coach Smith had a history of those comebacks.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of playing with MJ, did you ever get on the course with him?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I heard he's a much different kind of competitor on the course.
Yeah, well, we all are. He just has more money.
That's very fair.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. I think his famous line is like, somebody says, "Well, how much you want to bet?" And he says, "Whatever makes you nervous."
I've never heard that. That is absolutely fantastic.
I played one time, I try to say, okay, 10% of a respective income.
It's like tithing.
That would be fair.
Yeah.
Right? Like 10%.
That's fair.
I bring in, but he didn't go for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet he did.
I bet he's got some legendary golf stories. Even the ones that were on The Last Dance was pretty great. And I was watching the documentary about the Dream Team the other day, and he had some pretty epic stories there. So I love that, Coach. I love that you got out on the court, or sorry, on the golf course with Mike. What was that run like in '82, Coach?
Well, it was the first thing is in '81 we went to the Final Four.
Yep.
And we lost in a championship game to Isaiah Thomas and the Indiana Hoosiers.
Yep.
And we had everybody, the starters. We had 3 starters back: Jimmy Black, Sam Perkins, James Worthy. I was the 6th man, and then Al Wood was graduating. He was a great player. He was an All-American. We had Michael Jordan come in as a freshman. So we were confident. We didn't have great depth. So, there was a game where Sam Perkins was sick. We lost at home to Wake Forest. And we lost one game at Virginia against Ralph Sampson. But we were a very unselfish group. We needed to stay healthy and stay out of foul trouble. And we did. And we're just very unselfish. I think we're a very smart team. Everybody could pass, handle, and shoot the ball and think. And we just cared about winning. I mean, James Worthy, first pick in the draft, averaged like 15, 16 points.
That's still one of the best dunks I've ever seen.
30.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's what the old thing was with Coach Smith, was right. He was the only one that could hold Mike under 20 points a game, right? But yeah, that dunk that Worthy had at the end of that game, that's still one of my favorites.
Yeah. Now look at James's dunk against Houston in the Final Four.
Oh, okay.
That was even more impressive.
All right, let me write that down.
Yeah, look at that. Try to Google that.
I'm sure I've seen it, but let me look. I would always like to go back. I would always like to go back and see that for sure.
Yeah. I remember after the summer after James, that summer he went pro, and we were working out. We were together in Chapel Hill. We went to lunch, and I think it was just he and I said, his nickname was Stick. So I said, Stick, what was Sleepy thinking? Like, why did Sleepy try to go try to block your dunk, a breakaway? And he said, I don't know, man. He said he tried to do the same thing in high school.
Oh, that's great. Oh, why would he try to do it twice? He knew what the outcome was going to be.
Oh, wow.
They're both from Gastonia.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was still one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite highlights in all of basketball. So I definitely, that was one of my favorites. So after your playing career at UNC, I want to skip to whenever you went to go coach with your old high school coach, Mr. Bob McKillop. You were the assistant coach at Davidson from '89 to '92. So what was that? I mean, I know you already had the relationship with Coach McKillop. What was it like being a coach with him and also playing for him? How was that?
Well, I think it was, at first it was fun. It was fun. We had a good time. And we had 3 former high school players on his staff. John Corso, who just passed away about a year ago, God rest his soul, Don Hogan and myself. And we had a good time together. But it was also a hard time because Bob was used to winning. And that first year we went 4-24.
Wow.
And it was, part of that was due to Davidson was not set up to win at that time. And then, Bob had to grow into being a head coach. He went from being a high school coach to a Division I head coach. It's a big jump.
Yeah, sure.
So I think that first 3 years were very difficult. But then finally we got some recruits, and then Bob got his footing. And after year 3, pretty much every year he probably averaged 20 plus wins a year.
Yeah, I mean they're one of the more successful, minors, out there, and they've always been dangerous. They always give Carolina a run for their money, no matter what year it is, no matter what the record is. It always seems like. And you had the same experience with Coach Williams, except the added thing that he actually recruited you in college. So what was that dynamic like? Because you were at Kansas for 7 years.
Yeah, I love Kansas. I loved Kansas. University of Kansas is a lot like UNC.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar school, the layout of the campus, the downtown, and the interest in the sport. That may be the best place to be, to watch a game or play a game. The crowd there is unbelievable, 16,500 people. The arena is old school. The angle of the seats, it's really intense. And to be there for 7 years under Roy Williams was a blessing. I learned so much from him to understand the inner workings of the Carolina system, having played it. And we had some great teams, great guys we coached. In that system, I got to, because of Roy Williams and Dean Smith, and, I got to become the head coach at Notre Dame. And, I was there for 1 year, and I thought I'd be there forever. And then Bill Guthridge retired, and Roy decided not to take the job, so it fell to me.
Yep, and I mean, deservedly so, Coach. If you ask me. So with the Kansas thing, I gotta ask, man. The Rock Chalk Jayhawk, not the national, not the chant necessarily, but when all the students get together, arm in arm, the lights go out, like that's got to be one of the best, like in-game, pre-game things I've ever seen. I've never experienced it because I decided I'm not going to go watch a game at Kansas until Carolina and Kansas play in Lawrence, which is a bucket list thing for me. I want to experience that. How is that in person? And on YouTube, it's fantastic, so I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's kind of a religious experience.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, it really is, a cool place. The fans are into it. They understand basketball. And again, 16,500 people. It's like put 16,500 people into the Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Oh man!
It's twice the size of Cameron, but the same intimate feel. And that chant that you're talking about is really cool.
It really is.
We've had some great.
And Dom, if you haven't seen this yet, you need to YouTube this and check this out because it really is something that will give you chill bumps, even if you're not a college basketball fan. It's pretty incredible. So going from Kansas to Notre Dame, going from a assistant coach for 10 years, and then go to such a prolific program like Notre Dame, a university. I guess they probably didn't have. They had a program like back in the 70s and early 80s, right? That was really good, and then kind of fell off. How was it to coach at such a prestigious university as Notre Dame?
It was an honor. As an Irish Catholic kid growing up on Long Island, Notre Dame was a school I always admired. I was recruited by them. I was a big fan of some of the former players like Kelly Tripucka, John Paxson, and some of their teams. I remember watching them as a kid. And then to be there on that campus with the Golden Dome and having, Notre Dame on my chest, it was a real honor. And I was very proud to be their coach.
That's cool.
Coach, perceptually, Notre Dame seems more like a football school. With the other places that you've coached are much more basketball first. How was that different coaching at a school that seemed to be, very, very heavy on football focus? At least in the fan base, it seems like.
Yeah, it didn't bother me. Matter of fact, there's some benefits to that. Because, you can have maybe a little dip in performance, and you're not going to get crucified for it. As opposed to being a basketball coach at North Carolina,
Right?
Slide under the radar a little bit more.
Coach at Notre Dame,
sure.
Mm-hmm.
So it gave you a little bit more insulation. As long as there wasn't disrespect, in the program. And at times when I first got there, I felt there was disrespect towards our program, and you had to fight for some things and to change the culture.
Whenever you went to UNC, what was it like trying to make your mark on such an established, prolific program? Because I know Dre and I were at your first Midnight Madness at Carmichael, and we were talking about this earlier.
God, that was so great.
I got so hyped whenever you and the other coaches got out there and played that 3-on-3.
So great.
It was one of my most favorite experiences as a Tar Heel fan.
Yeah.
Was that, and I got to know, it's like what was it like to put your stamp to come in? What were you thinking about putting your stamp on the program?
Yeah, I think first of all, we won that pickup game.
You did. You did indeed. I do remember that.
Yeah. What I wanted to do is be myself, and I love interacting with the students. I love tapping into that energy, and so doing something like that, having a Midnight Madness, which I don't think they had before. Bringing back Stuart Scott. Stuart Scott hosted that.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
I do remember.
Yep.
And so we just wanted to have fun and kind of, be us. I didn't want to. I couldn't be Bill Guthridge. I couldn't be Dean Smith. I needed to be myself. And that's what I try to do within the parameters of the Carolina program.
Now, speaking from a fan, you definitely made it fun. That was, as I said, one of the best experiences that I've ever had as a Carolina fan, and one of probably the best Midnight Madness that I've been to date.
Yeah, that was the best.
I've been to all of them except for the last 3, and it started with you, and it was a phenomenal experience. That's for sure. You're welcome. If you could go back and change it, what would you do? What would you do differently?
Well, I think a couple things. I probably would allow Coach Smith. I would ask Coach Smith to help me make some of the decisions I made. When I took the job, I wanted clarity on 3 things. Could I bring my staff with me? Yes, was the answer. Could, I wanted an understanding that my second year we probably wouldn't be very good because we were going to lose a lot. And then the third year was going to be rebuilding. There was an understanding of that. Check. And then the third thing was, would it be my program? Could I run it could I run the program, or would it need to be run? Would Dean Smith want to run it through me? And so Coach Smith said, it's your program, run it how you see fit. And I think just looking back, I was naive and should have flowed with change. Managing change is an art form, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Especially hard when a program's won for 40 years. It's especially hard when a staff has been in place forever.
Sure.
It's especially hard when you have 4 secretaries that have been there an average of about 20 years. And it's especially hard when you get the job in July.
Yeah.
And most coaches get jobs in March or April. I got mine in July, and it's like, why did it come open then? It was a very tough time because what's the most important thing that a coach does in July?
Recruit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine that situation, to be honest with you.
So if I had to do it again, I probably would have talked to Coach Smith about retaining some of the previous staff, because I think that really hurt him and some of the former players. I would have still brought my staff with me, but maybe in a different role. I didn't want to leave them out in the cold, and go slower with change.
Yeah.
But I was up against the clock getting the job in July, so it was kind of a tough spot. But
Yep.
those are the things I would have done differently.
Well, Coach, speaking of recruiting, you are one of the best recruiters out there, or at least whenever you were a coach. What makes a great recruiter like yourself? Because you had some A1 talent commit to you.
Well, I appreciate that. First of all, you have to have a good staff.
Yep.
Secondly, you have to have a good product to sell.